Welcome to another deep dive. We've got a really interesting one today about the Sandman. This time you've given us a whole bunch of material about mortality and eternity, which, wow, are those big topics. So we're going to take a look at how the Sandman deals with those ideas and how it makes us think about our own lives too, right? I mean, who hasn't thought about living forever or what it means that we don't?
The Sandman really gets into those deep questions about, just existing at all. Like, what does it mean to be human when you've got these endless beings walking around? It definitely doesn't shy away from the big stuff.
No, it does not. One of the things that really hit me was how the series doesn't treat death like this horrible, scary ending. It's more like our mortality is what gives life meaning. Like, if we lived forever, would things matter as much?
Right. And it's always contrasting us regular folks with the endless. These immortal beings are like dream or death or desire. But even they start to see how beautiful a limited lifespan can be when they hang out with humans.
Yeah. Like Morpheus. He's dream itself, right? Ageless, powerful. But he seems to learn so much from these mortals he encounters. Rosewalker, Orpheus, Leda Hall.
Exactly. Their stories, their passions, even the fact that their time is running out, it all seems to affect how Morpheus sees things.
And then there's Hobgoblin, who actually chooses to live forever. He gets to see centuries of history. I mean, from medieval stuff to world wars. And he still finds joy in, like, simple things. Makes you think, huh.
Yeah, doesn't it? It's like maybe knowing that things will end makes us appreciate them more. It's the contrast.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Hob can still get excited about a good meal after all this time.
I think that's a great point. It's kind of like when you're on vacation, right? You really savor those moments because you know they won't last forever.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
And that seems to be what the Sandman is getting at with mortality. It's not just like a bummer that we get old. It's part of what gives life its depth and its beauty. The good stuff is more intense because it doesn't last.
Okay, so we've got mortality making life meaningful. But the sources we're looking at also point out that eternity, well, it may sound awesome, but it can be a real drag too.
Oh, for sure. The endless, with all their power, they often seem trapped by it, tied to their roles, kind of isolated. It's like they have trouble changing or growing.
Morpheus is a total example of that, isn't he? Bound by his duties, his past mistakes. He doesn't exactly jump at trying new things.
He really doesn't. And isn't it ironic? He's the Lord of Dreams, yet he seems to learn about, well, the power of dreams from humans.
Oh.
The folks who are limited by time.
Now that you mention it, yeah, that is pretty ironic. And even Hobgoblin, even though he wanted immortality, he's seen a lot of terrible things over the centuries. I mean, wars, suffering, how do you even deal with that?
Right. I think it just shows how tough people can be.
Yeah.
How resilient. He keeps finding reasons to live, to connect with people, to see the good stuff, even when he's surrounded by so much bad.
And then there's Delirium. She wasn't always like that, was she? She used to be delight. But something happened. It's almost like even joy can get messed up if it goes on forever.
Delirium is a fascinating case. She really shows how even positive emotions can become, distorted maybe just by lasting too long.
So it's not just about living forever. It's about what happens to you because you do. Eternity changes you deep down.
It's interesting, though, even though eternity comes with all this baggage, the endless aren't totally separated from us mortals. I mean, they learn from interacting with us, too.
Oh, totally. Like with Hobgoblin and Morpheus, right. Every 100 years, they meet up in their conversations. Well, it shows how much a human can make an endless being think. Sometimes I even feel like Hob is the wiser one, honestly.
That's true. Hobbes always so excited about life.
Yeah.
And he just finds wonder in the everyday things. That really challenges how Morpheus is all serious and brooding.
Makes me wonder, does Morpheus ever get a little jealous? Like, jealous that humans can just enjoy stuff? He's so stuck doing his duty all the time.
Yeah. Makes you think, And it's not only Hob. Rose Walker, she starts out as just a normal girl, but she ends up in the middle of all this dream stuff, this endless world. And she doesn't back down. She even stands up to Morpheus, forces him to see the human world, even the bad parts, differently.
Rose is one brave lady, that's for sure. I guess sometimes it takes someone from the outside, someone who's new to all of this, to shake things up.
Exactly. And Leda Hall, we can't forget about her. Her story, all the grief she goes through, and just how much she never gives up. It makes the endless realize how powerful human experiences are. Like, it shows that neither side, the mortal or the eternal, gets the whole picture without the other. They need each other.
You know what really threw me for a loop? The first time I met Death in the Sandman, I was not expecting that.
Oh yeah, Death in the Sandman is a total game changer. I mean, she's compassionate, she's almost cheerful. She gets both mortals and the endless, and she helps them all figure out what it all means.
It's like she's the one who truly understands both sides, living a short time and living forever.
Right. Such a cool way to show death. She's not afraid of the cycle of life and death at all. In fact, she sees the beauty in both of them. And it's fascinating to watch how she interacts with her siblings, the other endless. She's often the voice of reason, like she's reminding them about their own humanity, the stuff they've forgotten over the eons.
She almost seems more grounded than the rest of them. So we've talked about how mortality gives meaning to life and how eternity can be a real burden. But there's this other idea that really blew my mind, that what we do as mortals, it echoes into eternity.
Ah, yes. That goes straight to the heart of what the Sandman is saying about legacy, about the impact we have even after we're gone.
Like everything we do, every choice we make, the things we create, even just talking to someone, it creates these ripples that don't just disappear, right?
Exactly. Think about Orpheus, Morpheus' son. The tragedy in his story, the choices he makes, they have consequences that last for centuries. Orpheus is still shaped by all that.
Wow. Makes you wonder, can even the endless escape the consequences of actions? And it's not just individual stuff either, right? The Sandman shows how things humans create, like stories, dreams, that can outlive us.
And I think that's what makes it so personal for everyone. It makes you think, what stories am I telling?
Right.
What kind of connections am I making? What impact am I having? Because those things, those ripples, they could keep going long after we're gone.
So, what's it all mean? What's the big idea we should take away from all this talk about mortality and eternity in the Sandman?
To me, it's saying that mortality and eternity aren't opposites. They're two sides of the same thing. They both define and shape each other. And you need both to understand what it means to exist at all.
It's like, yeah, our time is limited, but what we do doesn't have to be. Pretty inspiring, actually.
It really is. And it goes back to what we were saying about, eternity being a burden sometimes. Maybe the way to handle that is by appreciating the small stuff more, Those little moments, connecting with people, the stories that stick around even after we're gone.
So it's not just about living forever. It's what you do with it that matters. Like how you make other people's lives better, what you leave behind. Man, this is making me want to go make something.
Me too. And it doesn't have to be some big, huge thing, right? Even just being kind to someone, telling a good story, connecting with another person. Those are the things that matter, those little ripples, the things that keep going even when we're not around anymore.
That's a really powerful thought. The Sandman really makes you think about life and death and everything in between, doesn't it? It's more than just a comic. It's like it's holding up a mirror to these big questions about existing.
And it leaves us with a question, almost a challenge. What will your echo be? What will you create or do that keeps going? What story will you leave behind?
That's a great question, one we should all think about. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Sandman. I hope it's given you as much to think about as it has us.
And until next time, keep dreaming, keep making stuff, keep leaving your mark